room full here at Velma Jackson High School. This is our entrepreneurship class, and we're recording this also for our friends over at Germantown High School and Ridgeland High School as well. So other entrepreneurship students will see it. And we have a couple here that are also interested in their own concepts of educational-based businesses. And we've looked at your website and looked at some of the things you guys do over at One Step Closer, all the way up there in the capital city. And you're actually our second guest this year from the capital city. We had the owner of Sassy Frizzle Designs, which is a t-shirt design and custom design company there in DC. So I know you're from New York, but now you're in DC. So tell us a little bit about what all One Step Closer does and how what all you guys do and how you got into it.
Yes, thanks for having me. And thanks for representing the DMV, giving us our flowers as we do amazing things here. So I'm Felicia Ford. I'm the founder and CEO of One Step Closer, Finding the Fun in Math, LLC. So one of the things that we do here at One Step Closer, we're a math tutoring organization. But outside of math, we provide opportunities for summer employment for students ages 14 to 19, where we want to try to hound or hone and make these students competitive, because usually summer youth only allows people up to 24, but so that VAS is very broad. So we wanted to kind of streamline it and give those students 14 to 19 opportunity to gain some employable skills. Outside of that, we also are a scholarship organization. So we give scholarships for people who are majoring in STEM fields. So we pay for books, we pay for tuition within those class periods. And we are just a growing organization trying to continue to fulfill and make math fun.
Okay, so how'd you get into this? Do you have a background in math, or I mean, I know what you have, but they don't know. I saw.
Yeah. No, I can say it. Yes. So originally from New York, I started out. Now I live in DC. One of my major or favorite subjects when I was growing up, especially in third grade, was mathematics. So usually they say, hey, you know what you're good at based off whatever test that you pass mostly. So all my grades in math were hundreds. My reading scores were really low back then. And so when it was a time to decide what I want to major in, I majored in mathematics, because throughout my matriculation, that was always been my favorite subject and my most scored 100% on all tests. So mathematics was a major. Then I got my MBA in finance, or MBA with a minor in finance. So that's my background, but math has always been one of my strong points.
Yeah, and a lot of the speakers we have, they have a background in a certain area, but they'll straight up tell us, like, for example, we had a doctor this year that said, look, I went to med school, I learned how to be a doctor, but nobody's taught me how to run a business. So how big was that learning curve for you? Because obviously you have the finance background, you have the math background, but nothing in there. I mean, I finance a little bit, but nothing in there really teaches you how to run a business. So how hard was that learning curve for you?
Well, I got an MBA. So my minor was a finance, but my major courses were entrepreneurship classes. So that's why I went to get my MBA. So I kind of made a pivot so I can create, instead of just become a teacher, I wanted to create a math company that focused on how to generate wealth, but also educate the community. So I did have a little bit of success because of my MBA, but outside of that, networking, going to different functions. So if you don't go on the MBA route or don't get your master's in any type of business, you can still become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship, the key focus to entrepreneurship is networking. I am really good at networking. That's one of my strong points. And the way I learned it was just through my personality. I was always a talkative person in class, where the teacher say, hey, be quiet, I'm gonna call your parent, be quiet. But as I grew up and learned how that was a strength of mine, and how some teachers obviously you can't interrupt class. So there's a good thing and there's a bad thing about but that was a strong suit of how I can communicate effectively and I can earn trust from people. I can persuade people. So just through those different tips or things that I was really good at, that's what helped me push to entrepreneurship, those little tricklets.
Yeah, and then looking at your website, obviously you saw the scholarship things you guys have. You saw you had the summer STEM program. You have the actual books and the handout stuff and the classes for the kids. But you also do adult training as well.
Mhm.
So,
Correct.
so how does that work? Are you teaching them? Are you educating teachers or what? Because I was a little had some questions about that just seeing it.
Yeah, so outside of my math workshops or math tutoring company, I also do mentorship. So our motto is mathematics through mentorship. So these are my two, they call me M&Ms. They call me the queen of M&Ms. So mathematics and mentorship is the two things that I'm most passionate about. And through my mentorship opportunity, I'm able to influence adults to be more unique or to be more engaging with the student or the older adult youth who's trying to figure things out. So to be more personable, but to have that thin line from teacher and student, but add that mentorship perspective, which makes it personal. So through that, I teach curriculum-based mathematics with a twist of mentorship. So that's how I influence adults. But with the adult tutoring, I'm also a college professor, so I teach statistics. So all of my students are adult learners who are coming back to school. They're already in their 20 years of business or 20 years at work in their career. So their job is either paying for an additional degree or they just want to return before they retire. So I'm teaching adult learners, and through that I implemented a adult learning mathematics, because as they come in and back to school out of being out of school for 20 plus years, that statistics course or that introduction to mathematics or general level is really confusing. And a lot of people or adults, they made that pivot to go straight into the career versus going to college due to a math class, due to the fear of approaching math or having to deal with it.
Yeah, and I want to come back to the fact that you're a college professor here in a second. But what I wanted to also know is that with this issue that you see of math education and math and mentorship, how did you figure out a way to profitize that? Because that's not something that's not your run of the mill business concept. So how did you figure out a way to profitize that and still be so helpful in the community?
Yes, that's a great question. So before you can profitize anything, you have to either be in it, volunteer some type of way to kind of really understand the business and to understand the need. So after college, I actually worked for a tutoring company. And I was like, oh, I got to do this myself. This is something that I got to do. I see a need. And they wasn't reaching everybody, right? Every company can't reach everybody. That's why you have so many different bread companies, so many different car companies. So that was my end. And when it came to mentorship, I joined a mentor organization, and the way they did their training was not enough to really suffice or grow that building stages between a mentor and a mentee. So that was a need. So I just infused the two things that I was really wanting to prophesy on or embark on and really try to close that gap with one step closer. So it came by me stepping into those businesses and really observing and really me taking notes. It's always a strategy if I join a company. It's not just because I love it so much. It's because I have a strategy to see what's the need, what's the missing mark, and how can I infuse it.
Yeah, and every entrepreneur at the end of the day, that's really what they're doing, because you didn't reinvent the wheel. You didn't
Correct.
get something new, but you found a better way for it to reach people. And we always talk about perceived value. So people are willing to pay for something they know is going to be good. And also something I always say too is if people will buy it, you need to sell it. If
There
people
you
will
go.
pay it, you need to charge it.
Mhm.
So I think, from what you just said, it sounds like, yeah, that it was being done, but not to the point you wanted to see it done. So you didn't change what was being done. You just did it better.
Correct.
Now
Exactly.
I do want to talk about too. You're our second person we've had this year that's also a college professor, and I did not know that until just now. Our first speaker of the year we
Oh,
had is a full-time biology professor at Jackson State, one of our HBCUs here in Mississippi, and she runs a hair company, a natural hair company with hair products. So, and we've had a few people that are not, they're entrepreneurs, but they're also employees. So, how hard is that to balance? Because I think a lot of kids, they're watching now, and some that might watch later, they think if I'm an entrepreneur, I got to go all in. I can't do anything else. But you can still have that fallback and that's the steady stream of income, because everybody knows entrepreneurs, unless you have a multi-million-dollar company, you're not going to have that steady stream. So how important is it to balance that, being an employee and an entrepreneur?
yeah. So I'm an employee for a university as well as for Amazon. So I'm a financial analyst. So I do multiple hats just to continue multiple streams of income. In this day and age, multiple streams of income is the way. But to balance my schedule, these are all intertwining. There is nothing like I'm not doing here, then I'm doing something that's not related to it. So math, finance, mentorship, I can infuse that with the two. So all of my side or all of my streams of income are connected. So it causes the balance to be a little more easier when they're all connected, because whatever I do in my class, I can do in my mentorship workshops. I can also bring at work, or whatever I do at work, I can bring it to my classroom as a project idea, or like everything's connected from what all the three different things that I do. So it becomes a little easier. So just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to be all in and you can't do nothing else. Yeah. You can do something else, especially if they're all, it's easier if they're all connected.
Oh, absolutely. Now, and before I get to some of the students' questions, when you're providing these services, is it just you, or do you have employees that you train, or because we've been really big on mission and vision, because it sounds like it would be tough to cover all that by yourself. So you would really have to have somebody on board with your vision on what you're trying to accomplish. So is it something that just you do, or do you have people you bring in that you train?
Great question. So in the beginning, it was just me, because I had the vision, I had the goal, and I couldn't really persuade people to be on my team because I didn't have anything to show for it. So don't stop because you don't have a team. Like if you have your own vision and you see where you want to go, the vision should include you want to grow, become a team. But in the beginning, just because you don't have it, don't stop. So now I have a team because now my services have grown and the people that I reach have grown. So I do a lot of independent contracting. I'm not big enough to have employees and pay for benefits. So you have to start where you are. But the more that I'm stretched, the more that I do reach out to different people and have independent contractors to help me in different capacities.
Yeah, and then before I get to the students' questions, also we're talking about marketing and branding right now. So, what different marketing strategies do you use to get your name out there?
They all grow. It's all trial and error. No marketing strategy is wrong. I first started out with just word of mouth, going to different places where I knew students were or clients would be, like school fairs and different things like that, just to get my business out. And then the more that I saw that people were asking for information, that's when I drew on to business card distributions and flyers and promos. And then as social media got big and grew big, I just started to implement that. So then now I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I do TikTok videos. But my best, which is most lucrative form of marketing, is cold calling and going to fairs. Like I said, networking is one of my strong suits. So staying behind a computer has not brought me a lot of revenue, but getting in front of people has.
All right, so I do have some, yeah, and I can see, especially in the DMV, when there's so many people to be seen, that's a market that's not going anywhere. But I do have some great questions from our entrepreneurship students here. This first one is Rod Darius Williams, and he's a junior, and he asked, what things do you wish you knew before you started your business?
So like I said in the beginning, it was just me. I wish they would have told me that there's no businesses that make clones. So working by yourself and the struggle of really persuading people that your vision is real, it does take work. So I wish they would have told me that, like, make sure you have a great pitch in the beginning so you can sell your business to others, especially if you're trying to build a team.
Yeah. Now this is Corlin Murray, and this is very interesting. She's a senior, and she asked, what percent of your company is based on philanthropy, and what percent is based on profit?
Excellent. So we started off as a philanthropic company, which was One Step Closer Foundation. So it was 100%. Everything I made through tutoring went through scholarships, went towards scholarships. Now, the more I grew, I became an LLC, and now it's 60-40.
60-40 and what?
60% profit, 40% philanthropic. So I still have scholarships, still give, but now that money comes home too.
Oh, okay, awesome. Now this is Jarvis Owsley. He's a junior, and his concept he started for this class is a a mentoring, educational type service as well. So he's very interested in this field. And he asked, what type of market research did you do before starting your business?
Excellent question. So I did a lot of research on tutoring. Remember, I said I worked at a tutoring company, so I was doing a lot of observing. I researched the target audience. I researched the stressed subjects that a lot of people are either, there's not a lot of people in that particular field. So mathematics was a high commodity when it came to finding a Black person in math and or to be relatable. So those are the type of researches that I did to start.
And that's a great thing to see. This is Christina Robinson, and she's a junior, and she asked, have you seen the difference in people that have gone through your programs?
Yes, and they won't leave. So the people in our program, they matriculate. We try not to, the purpose of tutoring is not to have them for life. It's to set you up for success and then give you confidence to continue on by yourself. And if you need us, call us, but you should be good. So most of my former clients are now volunteers. They help with volunteer work. They help with my scholarship opportunities. They help with tutoring. So they do come back more confident to want to tutor in the subject now.
Yeah, and this is a me question I just thought of. Obviously, in the DC area, you have some very, very well-known colleges and universities, and then also right in the surrounding area in Virginia and in Maryland as well. I mean, just off the top of my head, Georgetown, Howard, George Mason, George Washington, American, University of Baltimore, Eastern Shore. You know, they're all right. They're all right there. So what kind of relationships have you built with those universities to try to sell your products and saying, look, I can get you a scholarship to go to XYZ school?
Yes. So all the colleges you name, I haven't reached all of them yet, but Howard University, University of Maryland, American University have been my clients when it comes to curriculum-based building as well as mentorship development. Howard University, I also was a professor at that school. So that helped with just the relationship building. But University of Maryland, the way I got into that was just through networking. Someone at my church, I just pitched my idea and she brought it to her dean, and I became one of the workshop hosts in curriculum building, as well as implementing a mentorship program at the University of Maryland. So just through the form of networking, everything starts with your confidence and your ability to work with people and connect and talk. Because once you start a business, how are you going to sell it if you're scared to talk about it? So I started with the root of
at demand skill in this country. Even
excellent.
Sales is the most in demand skill. And I've been trying to tell these kids that if you can sell something, you can make money.
That's it. But you got to be able to talk.
You can't talk like
you can have a great idea, but if nobody knows about it, then you won't make money. So that's why I always say the root of entrepreneurship is networking.
Absolutely.
Or communication and confidence.
All right, this is Rashawn Smith, and he's in 9th grade, and he asked, how does it feel to work with children?
Yes. So like I work with all adults and children. I also include working with the parent because I'm more like an liaison. I'm also educating the parent on this new math so they could be more receptive to their child and build that connection. So it's been fun working with the children, but I also work with the parent, so that way when the student come home from school, the parent's not like, oh my God, they're more confident, they more patient, and they have better responses to these answers or questions.
You see all the posts on social media all the time about my child has this math homework, I don't know how to do it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Now this is Michael Williams, and he's a senior, and he asked, if someone wanted to help in your company, but they were not confident in academics, how could they still help?
Well, we train, and I like to put people where they are confident. But if that's something that they have a passion for to learn, oh yes, I'll take you. I'll train you. I'm really good at training because I'm a professor. I teach. I do that. So teaching and training is something that I'm able to do, but I really like to put people in their passion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I agree. If somebody has a passion for something and they're willing to learn, if you can sell and train, like you said, I think that you can find a place for them to be helpful.
Correct.
I just got two more for you. One's not as serious as the other one, but the first one is, I know you're Delta Sigma Theta.
Whoop, whoop.
And we have a couple of teachers here that are Delta Sigma Theta as well. But you know, you hear a lot of these kids say they want to go Greek, and all they see is the stomping and the stepping and the strutting, and all that's cool because we have several HBCUs here, and then I went to the University of Southern Mississippi. They had a huge Delta Sigma Theta chapter.
Nice.
Great organization, but it is so much more than just wearing the colors and stepping. So can you talk a little bit about not just Delta Sigma Theta, but the whole MPHC organization, of how that can benefit, but especially with networking, how it can benefit, and what all you guys do behind the scenes? You know, it's not just the step shows and everything.
Yes, please get that out your head. It's not just step shows and wearing great fancy colors. So we all work. We work for the greater good of the community. We work for pushing scholarship and finishing college. We work for giving back and also that philanthropic spirit. But one of the things that we push for is that bond between sisterhood and brotherhood. Pulling your sister up, pulling your brother up. It's not all stomping and stepping and all these different things, but it's stretching in love. It's showing. I can meet a Delta, you know, that I never met. Just met her today. Say if I meet somebody today, the fact that she knows that I'm a Delta, that sisterhood is automatic. That love for one another is automatic. We don't know each other from a can of paint, but the fact that we know that we are both Deltas, or if I meet someone else in another sorority or fraternity, that bond that we have, and for sisterhood and brotherhood and building a community, it's stronger than any stepping could ever be.
Yeah, and in my experience, as I've worked on 4 college campuses, Deltas are great steppers. I mean, they're you can't deny that, but they do so much more, and they are a great organization. I'm telling you, if you ever get a chance, you need to get down to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. The Q Delta show.
I have to come.
That Q Delta show in Hattiesburg is one of the craziest things you've ever seen in your life. It is absolutely insane. Yeah, a huge.
Well, I like to give a shout out to my my school, Benedict College, which is at HBCU in Columbia, South Carolina, and my line sisters sorority, Gamma Upsilon chapter. So if you haven't seen us, you're missing a good show.
That's awesome. Yeah, but we have a couple of Deltas here that at the school, one from University of Southern Mississippi and one from Jackson State, which nice. And another one from 2 from Southern Mississippi and one at Jackson State. So nice. I got that backwards. Wow. 2 from Jackson State, 1 from Southern Miss. But yeah, we have 3 here at the school. All right, but before we go, Amy, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're really busy.
No, thank you.
You know, everybody watching with me right now is a young Black person in America, and they're going to face obstacles. And I'm the first person to tell you, I realize it is hard to be Black in this country. But we have some great students here, and we have some great business ideas here. But no matter how great that is, they're going to face obstacles. It's just a fact of life. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of when. So obviously, you growing up Black in America, you face those same obstacles, but yet you've become extremely successful. So what can these kids do right now to be ready to face those obstacles and be as successful as someone like you?
Look in the mirror and say, I can do it. Outside of that's the first thing. I'm not my parents. They didn't have the best upbringing. They didn't show the best examples. But one of the things I believe in Jesus Christ, God, that's my first source. But outside of that, look in the mirror and building up my own confidence, writing my own story. I really want you to believe that you can write your own narrative by meeting with the right people. It takes the right people, building your own village. I know they say it takes a village to raise a child, but some people think the village is your family. The village is mentors, the village is professors, teachers like Greg, counselors, work environments, internships, volunteer, churches. Like, you build your own village. Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? It takes the village. It takes you building your village. Sometimes it's not none of your family, but it's the family that you make. So I would say, look in the mirror, write your own story, build your own village.
Yeah.
And believe in God.
Well, nothing changes until you change it.
Correct.
Thoughts become things.
and start thinking positive. It's hard out here. We see the news, we see reality. It's sad, but once you wake up the next day, you still have an opportunity and chance to change and make your life, your situation better. It's gonna take that what is it, the bounce back, what is it, resiliency. It's going to take resiliency, it's going to take initiative, it's going to take confidence, it's going to take tears, it's going to take you speaking to yourself, but positive thoughts only. That's what wins the race. The fable, the tortoise and the hare. Who won? The tortoise. He was so slow, but he had a positive outlook, and that's what I like. He wanted to finish. That was his goal, but he won. So he had a positive outlook. I suggest you have that positive outlook, regardless of what the world is saying, regardless of what you see in your neighborhood. I grew up in the projects. I grew up on welfare. I grew up in foster care. But look, I'm still making it. So I was a product of the foster care system. I was a product of welfare and all those different things, projects. But I knew where I wanted to be. I surrounded myself with people who were not in that environment, or people that made it out those environments. And I just had a positive outlook.
That's awesome. And I can guarantee you, nobody has it perfect, but I can tell you, nobody watching with me right now has that kind of situation. This is a great school district, and they're extremely blessed to be here. And I know they
look at that. Even better.
Yeah, exactly. And we're out in the country, and we aren't anywhere near any projects out here. We're in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Even houses.
even people here don't know how to find our school. We're that far out. But again, Felicia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I've got to get back up to DC and see what you guys do. I think that's
please come.
Extremely inspiring. www.onestepcloser2.com. Their website is great. They're a great Instagram follow as well. Got some great stuff out there for everybody. And again, thank you so much for joining us. That's some great stuff you had for us today.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully everybody was inspired. I look forward to hearing some success stories from you all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Bye.